r/AskReddit. Girls. What's a creepy thing guys frequently do which we are unaware of? I'm a guy, sorry to disappoint. Whenever I'm strolling at night and end up walking behind a girl I feel terrible. I can tell I'm making them nervous, so I either talk on the phone or slow the duck down. It doesn't help that I'm 6 feet 1 black male that weighs 200 pounds. Edit. The vast majority of you have restored my faith in humanity. I understand that we live in an unfortunate society where a woman might feel afraid walking alone. It's up to us to be decent people and try our best to make everyone feel safe. Also thank you for the gold. Same. Got off a bus after midnight last night. Girl got off in front of me, so I deliberately crossed the roadway earlier than I normally would, just to try make her feel safer. Crossing the road would have undoubtedly put that woman's mind at more ease. The rational part of our brains tells us that we are being overly paranoid and that you're very unlikely to attack us. Sure. You're just walking home. It just happens that you live in the same general vicinity. The paranoid part, however, tells us that any of us could succumb to danger and in an instant we could become the next news story. Personally, I find that it helps if you're not silently walking behind me in the dark. I have a short stride, so I expect to be overtaken by a man walking behind me, and yet it so rarely happens. Instead, so many men maintain a distance of a few meters, so it feels like I'm being followed. Maybe it's due to a conscious decision not to get too close to cause alarm, but make a noise or something. Anything to humanize yourself, so that footsteps and breathing aren't the only sounds permeating through the darkness. One time, a straggler started singing a bit of off-key Taylor Swift which immediately neutralized the paranoid self. Another time, I heard a man arguing with his partner about the dishwasher. Of course you shouldn't feel obliged to do anything. But if crossing the street isn't an option next time, maybe consider not letting the walk home be completely silent. Once at a family party this elderly man insisted on dancing with me almost the whole night. I didn't mind this so much because I was there only with my mum and didn't know that many people. He then continued to try to read my body language and tell me how he knows that there are things that I'm trying to hide and how I have a secret temperament. Please don't try to pretend to read a girl's behavior, especially if she's about a third of your age. This is just creepy. Ugh, yeah, I had a man who I used to babysit for do that to me as well. He kept asking about what I like to do for fun and how I must be naughty and like to get in trouble. Dude. I'm 14. My idea of fun at the time was giggling about boys and watching a movie with my friends at a sleepover party. On a semi-related note, he also grabbed Mars once when I was babysitting and his wife wasn't there. He also told me that his 2-year-old son was so lucky that I would undress him and put him into bed. Again. Still 14. Ducking gross. What happened to that bastard? Claim to know when a woman is menstruating by smell alone. Edit. No. I have never been attacked by bears. What? The duck? It's the bears. They can smell the menstruation. At a club. Pushing into our dance. I was out with my friend and we were dancing together. Fully engaged with just each other and chatting as we danced. A guy pushed into the gap between us and tried dancing with just me. I stopped dancing and stepped away. My friend reached out and pulled me back to her and began dancing with me again, pulling me in closer to close a circle to make it clear we weren't looking for company. He did it again. My friend straight up pulled me away and we walked out of the room. Later that night, the guy saw us and came over and started screaming and shouting that we were itches and whores and rude for ignoring him. What the duck? A girl I went to school with got punched in the ducking face by a guy who kept pushing in to dance with her when she wasn't interested and was just trying to enjoy a night out with friends. Punched in the face in the middle of a crowded club. Thankfully she got away with no bones broken and nothing more serious than bruising, but if her friends hadn't been able to pull him off her and security hadn't been quick in grabbing the guy, she could have ended up a lot worse off than she did. I see comments from guys saying yeah right at the idea of women being taught to be polite and reject them quietly or just ghost. It's because we are either deathly afraid of this happening or we have to behave rudely and brutally because we're afraid of this happening. For me, it's jumping right into super flirting. Like, an example conversation would be, me, so, you like Arma 3? Soviet Womble has got some great vids on that. Him, I love Womble. So, when are you coming over for vids and cuddles? Mon man. So, when am I coming over for vids and cuddles? Soviet senpai? You look so innocent. This isn't a compliment. I'm 26. This is creepy. I think this is often one of those dumb challenge statements where they say you're innocent and think your instinct will be to prove you're not. The annoying part is that probably does work sometimes. That's how my ex got me. He said there was a game that I'd probably not want to play and I wanted to prove myself. I was 15 at the time. I had some kind of crush on him and my self-esteem was at the floor. I thought nobody would want me. Got me in an abusive relationship. I'm glad it was long distance, so the worst he could do was manipulating me into sending photos of myself in underwear. Where's your smile? In the garbage with your hitty pickup line. I'm telling my wife to use this one. She works at a coffee drive-thru and gets this hit all the time. She's been looking for new material. So thanks. I know it's not that common, but there was one guy I knew who had a habit of putting his arm over girls' shoulders that barely know him, and without their consent. He thought it made look confident and cool. We thought he was a desperate creep. Nervous first movie date with this girl I'd been talking to for about a month. She leans on my shoulder, but I'm too nervous to put my arm around her because my pits are dripping wet. Always wear deodorant. My dudes. Edit, antiperspirant. Actually, I wear antiperspirant every day. Still have wet spots. Edit, guys, this is very confusing. Some are telling me to get more powerful antiperspirant and other to not use antiperspirant at all. I live in a place where it's very humid pretty much all the time because of all the lakes, if this help. Also thanks for trying to help. Edit 2. I'm a very manly man and I will not shave my armpit. Actually, I have a very delicate skin and I can't really shave anything or I get huge pimple and blisters. Edit 3. Okay, I get it. I'll try all these things. PLS, stop helping now. A lot of guys have followed me in public or slowed down to try and talk to me from their cars. In what world is this not creepy? I know most guys won't do this, but so many have at this point. I just wonder if they know how creepy they're being. More relevant to this thread. Being too persistent. If a girl keeps brushing you off or giving hit responses and you don't tone it down / walk away, you start to seem a bit creepy. Although some people are poor conversationists, so I guess it's hard to tell. Previous generations really like to teach girls that women play hard to get, lest they seem a little too eager to be a human. There's a lot of culture still floating around out there that suggests to men that persistence in the face of that behavior is so romantic. I mean, look at most of the Hollywood romantic movies out there. So many of them are about a guy still hanging around after she rejects him and trying to convince the girl to fall in love with him, and it always works in the end. It's always portrayed as super romantic in the movie, and he's fighting for their love. But in real life, that just makes you a stalker. Making a point of talking about how respectful / safe / feminist you are. Do it once. And okay. Maybe you're just shy or nervous. Do it twice or more, and it gets progressively creepier. Believe me, if you're really a quality guy, I'll be able to tell without being told. Oh man, I respect the absolute hit out of women. I ducking ruin them with safety and feminism. Girl here, pretend to be a girl on Reddit. How do we know you're not a guy? Because I said that I was a girl in my first comment. Silly. Staring. I can see you, even if I'm not looking at you. If I make eye contact with you, either smile and introduce yourself, or look away. Don't continue to stare thinking it's slick. It's just weird. The bigger the age gap, the weirder it is. I had one guy stare for so long that he actually drooled. It's not flattering. I promise. Edit, trust me. When you're in a club and a guy follows your every move, silently staring for ages, you can tell the difference between them accidentally spacing out and leering at you like a piece of meat. I've gotten in fights with guys who insist I was staring at them when in reality I was just staring into space. I wonder how many times I've done that to a girl and had no idea I was bothering them. Yeah. I was staring into space once and a girl came over to yell at me. Apparently me not seeing her or noticing her waving her hand in my face for a good 5 seconds didn't clue her in that I wasn't paying the slightest bit of attention to her. I mean, I'm sure I was looking in her general direction, but sorry, I have to look somewhere, and when I'm off in my own little world that somewhere ends up being pretty much random. From my wife. Being friendly to a guy and they automatically believe you want to duck them. So they ramp up the flirtiness and physical contact. My job requires a bit of talking with my clients to ascertain their needs. I had it happen that a client came back the next day when I wasn't around and made comments to my co-workers about how I obviously wanted him and other really inappropriate things. We had had a perfectly normal, neutral conversation about work-related things. I was upset, but then I realized this guy probably doesn't talk to many girls. He thinks that any woman even being the bare minimum of polite with him must want him. I think this is a side effect of the male experience. Most men feel invisible to women and receive zero obvious positive attention. To be noticed they have to do something such as asking her out. A woman being at all friendly without needing to stands out compared to the background radiation of not being perceived. A woman can signal interest in a guy by something as subtle as making eye contact. So someone being extra nice to a guy and seeming more interested in him looks like flirting. It is the nicest someone has been to him without needing to all month/year. Since he is the one who has to pick up on the cues and act on them. He might go back to the store and ask her out, since if she did like him, that is what he would be expected to do. Some men's lives are so devoid of emotional contact. Women validating them. Women giving any more attention than is required by default, that a woman working her job or just being a little friendly feels like something significant. The whole going back to the store and telling co-workers is some creep level nonsense. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Edging closer to you during conversation until they are practically on you. No. It's not going to get you laid, and no, you're not smooth. I've had girls do that, and I don't want to be too close and make it awkward, so I try to back away. One of them called me out on it, which made me feel so awkward. Like it made it seem like I couldn't stand being near her or something, which was pretty much the opposite of my intention, but I guess I'm just awkward like that. Yeah. This one is far from gender exclusive. Women often do this as a way of trying to convince a guy to start up the conversation. Or to get the guy to make a move because they are too scared/conditioned to do it themselves. Browses to make sure I'm not guilty of the top comments. Can't be guilty if you never approach females me. 2017. I respect women so much I completely stay away from them. 40-year-old virgin. Also me. As a black female, it is absolutely infuriating when guys hit on you by stating that they've never been with a black girl before and start with all that chocolate caramel hit. That doesn't make me feel special. It makes me feel like a fetish you want to cross off your list. Just be normal, please. Nubian princess. Give me some of that sweet chocolate of yours. I can treat you right. Unlike other black males, you can't rely on them. White and dark mixed together. I'm gonna be the yang to your yang. Tame me like you would tame a lion. Show me the raw sexuality of your kind. Yikes. It's really off-putting when guys come on too strongly. Like, I get it, you want X. So do I. But I also want to be able to carry a decent conversation with the person I sleep with that doesn't involve an unsolicited peen pic. I think a general rule with peen pics is that if we don't ask for one, don't send it. And a lot of guys just send it as an opening. It's pretty gross when it's not asked for. I'm sorry. I'm not sending out a peen pic ever. Even if you do ask, I still have aspirations of being president someday. I think that boat sailed. Anthony Weiner.